The marble halls went silent as Elon Musk laughed off Jasmine Crockett's government reform plan. Then she revealed his own embarrassing Twitter memos, flipping the summit. Hit like, subscribe, and catch the knockout moment. The White House Technology Summit had reached its crescendo of tension when Elon Musk threw his head back and laughed. That distinctive, almost mocking laugh that had dismissed countless critics over the years. Representative Jasmine Crockett stood at the podium, her government efficiency proposal still displayed on the screens behind her, watching as the world's richest man turned her serious policy presentation into his personal comedy show. But in her briefcase lay documents that would transform his laughter into stunned silence, his mockery into humiliation, and this summit into one of the most viral political moments in history. In exactly 90 seconds, she would deploy evidence so devastating that even Musk's legendary confidence would crumble on live television. Grassroots-powered, laser-focused, and unflinchingly bold. Renowned for research and quick-witted comebacks, she's respected not just for speaking truth, but for shaking up the status quo. Jasmine Crockett had learned in Texas courtrooms that the best response to arrogance wasn't anger but evidence. She approached every confrontation like a chess match, thinking 5 moves ahead, always carrying documentation that could turn defense into devastating offense. World-famous billionaire, tech disruptor, dismissive and sarcastic, used to mocking rivals with humor, controlling conversations with confidence, and brash interruption. Elon Musk had built his empire not just on innovation but on personality, using Twitter as both weapon and shield, dismissing critics with memes and mockery. He had entered the summit expecting another easy victory over what he saw as technologically illiterate politicians. The White House East Room had been transformed into a high-tech amphitheater for this historic summit on technology and governance. Cameras from every major network created a semicircle of red recording lights, streaming live to millions on cable and social networks simultaneously. Politicians occupied the front rows, their faces a mixture of anticipation and concern. Tech leaders filled the middle section, some of Musk's rivals secretly hoping to witness his comeuppance, others loyal allies ready to laugh at his jokes. Journalists and activists jammed the back of the hall, phones raised, ready to capture and transmit every moment that might become historic. The stakes transcended typical tech policy discussions. This was about the American tech future, the role of billionaires in democracy, and whether government could effectively regulate entities more powerful than many nations. Every whisper, every side-eye, every nervous shuffle hinted that this confrontation could become a generational viral moment that would define how America balanced innovation with accountability. The confrontation had been building since Crockett began presenting her comprehensive plan for government efficiency and tech regulation. She had spent months preparing, consulting experts, gathering data, crafting legislation that would bring accountability to tech giants while preserving innovation. Her presentation was thorough, professional, backed by economic modeling and international precedents. But Musk had been dismissive from the start, checking his phone ostentatiously, making faces at other tech leaders. And finally, when Crockett suggested that government could learn from but also regulate private sector excess, he had laughed out loud. "I'm sorry," Musk said, "not sorry at all," his voice carrying that particular tone of condescension he reserved for those he considered beneath him. "But this is hilarious. You're suggesting that the government, the same government that takes 6 months to fix a pothole, is going to teach efficiency to someone who revolutionized 3 industries." He stood up, addressing the room more than Crockett, playing to his audience. "I've sent rockets to space for a fraction of NASA's budget. I've revolutionized electric vehicles while Detroit was sleeping. And now Twitter, X, is transforming free speech globally. And you want to regulate innovation? With what? More forms? More committees?" The tech executives chuckled. Some politicians smiled nervously, not wanting to offend someone with Musk's influence. The imbalance was palpable. A billionaire tech icon versus a congresswoman most of the room couldn't have named before today. Musk continued, his trademark smirk widening. "Representative Crockett, is it? Let me explain how innovation actually works. It requires moving fast, breaking things, taking risks. Everything government is incapable of doing. Your little PowerPoint about efficiency is adorable, but I've actually built the future while you've been making slides about it." He pulled out his phone, typing quickly. "I'm actually tweeting this right now." Sitting through government efficiency presentation. "The irony is killing me. Face with tears of joy there. Just got 17,000 likes already." The laughter from his supporters grew louder. The frustration from Crockett's allies was visible. The power dynamic seemed insurmountable, How could a congresswoman compete with someone who could mobilize millions with a tweet? But Crockett remained calm, reaching into her briefcase with the deliberate precision of someone about to change everything. She pulled out a folder marked "Confidential. Twitter Internal" in bold red letters. "Mr. Musk," she began, her voice cutting through the residual laughter with surgical precision. "Since you brought up Twitter, excuse me, X, let's discuss efficiency and innovation there, shall we?" Musk's smirk flickered slightly, but he maintained his bravado. "By all means. I've increased user engagement by 40%, reduced operational costs by 50%, and..." "You've had 17 major outages in 6 months, Crockett interrupted, pulling out the first document. "This is an internal memo from your own engineering team. It says, and I quote, 'The platform is held together with digital duct tape and prayer. Critical systems are failing daily.'" The room stirred. How did she have internal Twitter documents? Crockett continued, pulling out another paper. "This is from your head of trust and safety. Sorry, former head, since you fired them. Content moderation is essentially non-existent. We're one scandal away from total advertiser exodus." Musk's face was reddening. "Those are... How did you... Those are stolen documents. This is corporate espionage." "These are whistleblower submissions to Congress," Crockett replied calmly. "Protected testimony from employees concerned about platform stability and public safety. All completely legal, all completely devastating to your narrative of innovation." She pulled out another document, this one with highlighting throughout. "But here's my favorite, Mr. Musk. This is your own email to staff from last month. You wrote, 'I don't know what I'm doing. This is way harder than rockets. Maybe I should have stuck to cars.' Your exact words." Gasps rippled through the hall. The tech executives were no longer laughing. Journalists were typing frantically. The billionaire who portrayed himself as the master of all domains had admitted, in writing, to being overwhelmed. "But wait," Crockett said, clearly savoring the moment. "There's more. This is a compilation of your policy reversals at Twitter. Blue checkmarks, changed 5 times. API access, changed 8 times. Content policies, changed so often your own team created a betting pool on daily reversals." She held up a chart. "You want to talk about government inefficiency? This shows Twitter's decision-making process under your leadership. The average policy lasts 4.7 days before complete reversal. The government may be slow, Mr. Musk, but at least we don't give the entire country whiplash." Musk tried to respond, but his usual quick wit had abandoned him. You're taking things out of context. Running a social media platform is complex." "Complex?" Crockett pounced on the word. "Yesterday you tweeted that running Twitter was easier than expected. The day before, you said it was simple if you're not an idiot. Were those statements also out of context?" She pulled out her phone, scrolling through screenshots. "Or how about when you promised to make Twitter profitable within months? It's lost 89% of its advertiser revenue. When you said you'd eliminate bots, bot activity has increased 340%. When you claimed you'd protect free speech, you've banned journalists who criticized you." The documentation was overwhelming. Each revelation landed like a punch, and Musk seemed to physically shrink with every disclosure. The confident billionaire who had mockingly laughed at government efficiency was being systematically exposed as chaotically inefficient himself. "But let's discuss your greatest innovation at Twitter," Crockett continued, her voice now carrying the authority of someone delivering a closing argument. "You've innovated new ways to destroy a platform. You've innovated how to lose $40 billion in value in record time. You've innovated how to turn a global communication tool into your personal playground." She paused, letting the silence build before delivering her knockout line. "If innovation means chaos, Twitter is your masterpiece." The simplicity of it, the way it turned Musk's own rhetoric against him, the perfect encapsulation of his Twitter tenure, it was devastating. Stunned gasps rippled through the hall like a wave. Musk's laughter had completely vanished, replaced by an expression of genuine shock. The man who always had a comeback, always had a meme, always had the last word, stood speechless. The room erupted, not in laughter at Crockett's expense, but in recognition of witnessing something extraordinary. Tech CEOs who had privately resented Musk's arrogance were visibly struggling not to smile. Politicians who had feared his influence were recording every second. Journalists were already composing their headlines. Crockett wasn't finished. You mock government efficiency while burning through billions in failed experiments. You ridicule regulation while your own platform violates consumer protection laws daily. You laugh at oversight while your employees beg Congress for intervention. She closed her folder with finality. The difference between government and your version of innovation, Mr. Musk, is that when we fail, we're accountable to voters. When you fail, you just tweet a meme and pretend it was intentional. Musk sat visibly stunned, awkwardly silent for perhaps the first time in his public life. His usual defensive mechanisms, sarcasm, deflection, humor, all seemed to have failed him. He opened his mouth several times, but no words emerged. The world's most famous entrepreneur had been rendered speechless by a congresswoman armed with nothing but his own documents. The energy in the room had completely flipped. Applause swelled for Crockett, starting from the back with activists and journalists, spreading through the political section, and even reaching some tech leaders who appreciated seeing hubris checked. She now controlled the stage completely, having transformed from the subject of mockery to the deliverer of one of the most comprehensive public takedowns in recent memory. Within 20 minutes, #Twitter masterpiece and #Crockett roasts Musk were trending globally. The phrase, "If innovation means chaos, Twitter is your masterpiece," was being shared millions of times, appearing in every language, becoming an instant classic of political comebacks. TikTok creators worked at superhuman speed, creating loops of Crockett's killer line paired with Musk's shocked face. One video showed his transformation from laughing to stunned silence, set to dramatic music that made it feel like watching a villain's defeat. Another used his own tweets about efficiency contrasted with the internal memos about chaos. Twitter itself became a battlefield of reactions. "This is the moment Musk finally got owned," was tweeted and retweeted endlessly. Even Musk supporters struggled to defend him, with many admitting Crockett had come prepared in a way they hadn't expected. The platform Musk owned was now being used to celebrate his humiliation. Meme creators had unlimited material. One showed Musk's companies with Twitter labeled as the one that proves he's not invincible. Another depicted him as Icarus, flying too close to the sun, labeled congressional oversight. The image of his stunned face became instantly iconic, used to express complete defeat in any context. YouTube editors cut highlight reels that gathered millions of views overnight. Reaction videos proliferated, with tech analysts, political commentators, and comedians all weighing in on the destruction they had witnessed. One video, titled "The Exact Moment Elon Musk Learned He's Not Untouchable," became the platform's most watched political content of the year. News networks struggled to maintain objectivity while covering such a one-sided demolition. CNN's tech correspondent called it the most comprehensive dismantling of a tech titan's narrative we've ever seen on live television. Fox Business, typically friendly to billionaire entrepreneurs, had to acknowledge the devastating effectiveness of Crockett's preparation. Late-night comedians had material for months. "Elon Musk learned today that you can't just laugh away congressional oversight," Stephen Colbert joked. "Turns out Congress has receipts, and they're more devastating than any meme." Saturday Night Live created an entire cold open around the confrontation, with the actor playing Musk literally shrinking as each document was revealed. For Elon Musk, the professional and personal impact was significant. His carefully cultivated image as the genius who could master any industry had been severely damaged. The internal documents Crockett had revealed painted a picture of chaos and incompetence that contradicted his public persona. Stock prices for Tesla and other ventures dipped as investors wondered what other chaos might be hidden. His response on Twitter was telling. Initially silence, then a few weak attempts at memes that fell flat, finally a long thread trying to explain context that only made things worse. The platform he controlled became a monument to his humiliation, with "Twitter is your masterpiece" becoming a permanent part of internet vocabulary for describing confident failure. Within Silicon Valley, the confrontation shifted dynamics. Other tech leaders who had feared Musk's influence saw he could be challenged. Employees at his companies felt emboldened to speak up about problems. The aura of invincibility that had protected him from criticism was permanently cracked. For Jasmine Crockett, the victory was transformative. She went from a relatively unknown representative to a household name, the woman who had done what senators, CEOs, and journalists had failed to do: hold Elon Musk accountable with his own words. Her legislative proposals on tech regulation suddenly had momentum, with even Republicans acknowledging she had done her homework. The Crockett method, using internal documents and receipts to counter tech industry arrogance, became studied and replicated. Other legislators began demanding transparency from tech companies, armed with the knowledge that whistleblowers would provide ammunition if needed. The long-term impact on tech-government relations was profound. The summit clip transformed discourse, showing that tech titans weren't untouchable if legislators came prepared. Musk's meme persona had collided with political accountability in a way that revealed the emptiness behind the bravado. If innovation means chaos, Twitter is your masterpiece entered popular culture permanently. It appeared on t-shirts, in business school case studies, in discussions about the difference between disruption and destruction. It became shorthand for calling out those who confused breaking things with building them. Years later, the moment would be replayed as a textbook case of speaking truth to tech power. Political science courses analyzed how Crockett had used Musk's own communication style, direct, meme-worthy, brutal, against him. Business schools studied it as an example of how hubris could blind leaders to their own vulnerabilities. The confrontation also marked a generational shift in how politicians engaged with tech billionaires. The era of deference to tech genius was ending, replaced by demand for accountability. Young legislators, inspired by Crockett's example, came to hearings armed with internal documents, prepared to challenge narratives with facts. As one tech journalist would later write, the Musk-Crockett confrontation was the moment Silicon Valley's reality distortion field met political reality. Crockett proved that no amount of wealth or Twitter followers could protect you from your own documented failures. She didn't just embarrass Musk, she demonstrated that tech accountability was possible if politicians did their homework. The White House summit, intended to bridge government and tech, had instead become the site of tech's most public humiliation. The marble halls that had hosted presidents and dignitaries had witnessed something equally historic. The moment when a congresswoman armed with receipts proved more powerful than a billionaire armed with arrogance. If innovation means chaos, Twitter is your masterpiece.